Hello and welcome to COVID Conversations here on WNCU 90.7 FM, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. I'm your host, Kimberley Cartwright. I'm the News and Public Affairs Director here at WNCU. And we're using the Zoom platform to talk about how COVID-19 is affecting our world. Our guest for the show today is Dr. Asabi Stephanie Howard, and she's the Director of Theater at North Carolina Central University. And today we're going to talk about using theater as a learning tool through a partnership with North Carolina Central University and Duke University. And the aim of all of this is to disseminate information about health issues to underserved communities. That's kind of a mouthful, Dr. Asabi. How you doing? You doing well?
Yes, how are you?
I'm doing so very well. I want to talk about you for just a second. How long you've been directing theater at NCCU?
Oh my gosh, if I tell you, then you know how old I am. But I started when I was like 5. For years, I've been here 13 years at NCCU. And of course, before I came, I was doing theater.
Yeah. So tell me about theater at North Carolina Central University. How long has the department been entertaining and informing people in the community?
They have been entertaining since the 70s and have been a staple to the community. And, you know, really, I always say we're the heartbeat of humanities. Say anything that y'all can talk about, if you can draw it, if you can sing it, if you can dance, so we can put it all on stage. And of course, in this situation, it shows that because we can take medical issues and math issues and whatever it is. So we've been a great staple, and I've been, I feel so honored that I stand on the shoulders of Dr. Norflick and Dr. Austin, who put so much time in building the program to what it is today.
I want to talk now about NCCU and Duke University's partnership to help improve health outcomes to underserved and underrepresented communities. Do you know about when this program started and when they decided that they wanted to be partners in this?
Well, actually, it started before I came, and they come together. It's a grant that lasts maybe about 5 years, and so they have maybe a couple of cycles of that before I came. And of course, you know, with each show, the aim is to deal with a disease that, you know, probably affects the brown people of color more than others, and to educate and hopefully incite some positive actions.
I want to talk about theater as a tool to reach people in the community. Now, this just didn't start like 2 days ago.
Right.
This has been going on for quite some time. So can we talk about the kind of education that the theater has been offering over time?
Well, over time, well, let me say personally, as an artist, I always want to inform people of something that makes sense, something that matters, something that is relatable. So most of us, I think that is how we approach theater. And that is how we teach our students to be responsible artists as well. So in general, even when we're thinking about the season, we think about, you know, what can fortify the community. So that's our general take. And then, of course, with this project, it's very specific because we know what we're doing and we're out to talk about a particular disease and reach a particular group of people. And so in that way, it becomes very targeted. And we've done, before I came, they did many diabetes, and we did cervical cancer 2 years ago. We've done heart disease, you know. We actually had one coming up for opioids before COVID. And so when COVID came, we had to pivot a bit. So we'll be doing that one hopefully next year.
And that COVID has been something, has it not?
Yes, it has. It's changed lives.
It changed everybody's life. And you guys did a play, A Crisis of the Moments. So talk to me about that particular play, that presentation. So what was it all about?
It was all about COVID, of course, and Desan Ahanu actually wrote the play. And so he wanted to take a humorous approach And he said it in the form of a talk show, variety kind of show. So it was like a Saturday Night Live, which was very fun to direct because I usually like something very serious and just, have the audience all emotional the whole time. So I was able to kind of relax a little. And I was telling my students, go for it. Like you can overact because it's like Saturday Night Live and people understand these stock characters. So it was great. So basically, COVID became personified. And in one scene, COVID is this kind of alluring woman, and and it's a speed dating scene. And so the men are coming and they're like, I'm so drawn to you, but I don't want to. And I know there's some issues that if I don't protect myself, that you might destroy me. And she's like, yes, you know exactly who I am, and you still here, so it was a great scene. And then there was one vignette where it was the game show itself. And so asking facts about COVID. And so the audience got to see, things that we think might be correct, but have proven not to be. And trying to, basically deal with myths as well. So overall, it was great. It was another scene that was set up kind of like NFL guys when they come together to talk about the game. So it was fun. The audience gravitated, our students gravitated to it very well. Our audience was online, so the feedback we got, of course, was good. And we wanted to reach more people, as we always do with streaming. But the people who did tune in really enjoyed it and seemed to have positive responses.
So is there a way to measure any of this response, feedback, learning from people who see the plays?
Yes, I'm so glad you asked, because with this project, they have to fill out a survey. Initially, we did one before and one after. So basically, ask basic questions about what you know about COVID, how you've been affected. And then afterwards, questions deal with, after seeing the play, how have your views changed in any way? And there are some participants that are with the project long term. And we also have focus groups. So, the project, we have the presentation of theater, but it goes far beyond it.
So tell me about the Right Now show.
So the Right Now show
Yes.
is a follow-up to Crisis of Moments. And so now we focus on vaccination and hesitancy, as we're facing that in a lot of our communities. And so the show actually explores different viewpoints, different perspectives about it, why people may be hesitant, things that we can probably be talking about in our communities. And of course, for African-American people, experimentation and medical procedures have always been an issue. So by right, some of the hesitancy is, as expected or by default. And we have to deal with those things very real way.
So you're doing these plays and you have to do it 6 feet apart. How do you work this out without the same kind of intimacy maybe as a regular production that you would put on?
Yes, it's almost a rethinking of the brain, because I pride myself on showing relationship on stage. And so much of that is with touching and gestures and being close. So as a director, I had to rethink it, but I took it as a challenge. So I had fun. I used, when COVID was a woman, she was using her toes to touch the man's chest, I had scarves, long scarves that we would throw. And I was like, kind of caressing with the scarf. So, but it ended up being some really, really cute stuff. But from the set design, the whole news table, we built it so that each person could have, at least about 5 feet apart. So we had this huge news table for people to sit around. So, we made accommodations, but so it's been interesting, but it's been great to hopefully achieve what we would have achieved without the 6 feet.
So somebody is writing and producing these plays, and you mentioned earlier, is it a gentleman or a female? What was the name? Was it
And I don't know if
Ahanu?
I'm butchering his last name, but it's Ahanu.
Is it Ahanu? Maybe.
Ahanu, yeah.
Yes, yes. So you have to use your imagination to make all of this stuff really, really come to life. So how are you doing the collaborations to make COVID-19 like come to life in the theater?
Well, along with this project, we did, I mentioned we did focus groups. There were times for the first play, we had a focus group, for example, with healthcare professionals. So, I take the things that they say in the realness, of course, and try to put that on stage in the seriousness of it. I remember one time, the nurses were talking about how stressed they were. And in the midst of that, this was, last year. So in the midst of that, I was saying, okay, so we know all the bad things. So, what can we think about for the future in a way of hope? And it was like this silence. And I was like, oh gosh, I'm scared, y'all. And they were just like, we just pray for a vaccination and that people will go get tested, will get it when it comes, and be responsible citizens in that way.
So why is a play a good way to reach people? I know that there are probably other components that come inside of grant writing, but why a play?
I think because, as we talked about in the beginning, informing people, I think we can inform and teach without it being obvious. And so people forget that it has that purpose because they enjoy the entertainment of it and they enjoy the creative plots that come together and the characters, and they can associate with it. And as I mentioned, Jason takes a humorous approach. So it's not kind of like one of those same COVID info, maybe dramas that one might see. And so we have appreciated all of that. But overall, I think it's an effective way to speak to people without feeling like you're preaching and you're pushing something down their throat again,
So tell me about where the Right Now show and the Crisis of Moments lives right now. Is it available online for people to be able to see, or has it had its run and then people would have to wait until the next spark of brilliance that you guys have to execute?
Well, it is coming. So it will be streaming October the 1st through the 3rd. You can always come to NCCU's theater social media pages to get all of that information and the link. And the good thing is we are going to make our previous show, Crisis of Moment, available. So it can kind of be a double feature as we move from point A to point B. And hopefully next year we can do Life After COVID,
Yes, that would be excellent.
Right.
So you're here at North Carolina Central University, and you have to go through your day to work with people who are masked up during the day. So how are you feeling at work?
I'm feeling cautious. And interesting enough, I think I was almost anxious about it when we came back in the last fall. I was anxious, but I was determined that we would do something on stage because I felt like the students needed that after being shut down unexpectedly in that prior spring. So I try to approach all of it with caution, from rehearsal protocol, everything has changed. How we come into rehearsal, how we deal with props, how things have to be sanitized, and of course, the social distancing that we had to adhere to before. And with students who are theater majors, we're family. So they're used to being in a tight knit, used to being close and hanging out. So it has been a challenge for all of us. And we're trying to approach it as carefully as we can.
So to your challenges, I wish that you would break a leg.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you very much for your time today, Dr. Asabi. I appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome. And we thank you, audience, for watching via YouTube, on Facebook. I know you guys are out there hitting us up on Instagram, as well as listening to WNCU 90.7 FM. And we want you to always be sure to like us, to follow us. We want you to subscribe to our pages for our archive shows as well. Thank you so much for taking your time to listen to the show today. We appreciate you. I'm Kimberly Pierce Cartwright, your host, and we thank you very much. We'll see you next time.